Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we'll discuss this problem jump gain, which is lead code problem number 1306. It says you have been given with stairs, okay, numbered from 1 to n, and at each stair you have been given with some steps, okay. So those are the steps that you can take from that particular stair, and you are positioned at the first stair and you have to decide whether or not you'll be able to reach the nth stair or not. So for example, in this scenario, in the first stair, on the first stair, two is given, right? So this means from first stair you can take two steps. Either you can decide to take one step, which will, if you take one step, will lead to here, to the stair number 2, and if you decide to take two steps from stair number 1, you'll be ending up at stair number 3. Okay, similarly for 3 the same thing would happen, right? So from here you can either take one step, which will lead you to go to stair number 3, and if you take two steps it will lead you to go to stair number 4, and if you take three steps it will lead you to go to stair number 5. Okay, now how can you do that? So basically you have to see, right, if the steps that you are taking is leading to the nth stair or not. In any case, if you get that, then obviously you have found one solution and you can return true. And if you try out all the possible solutions, all the possible ways from where you can start moving in the, like, from the first stair, and you are not able to reach the nth stair, then you can return false, right? So for that, what is the first thing that should come to your mind? The first thing that should come to your mind is recursion. Why? Because we can consider all the paths, we can consider everything, okay, starting from the first stair, and we can check if any one of them is leading to the nth stair. If that is there, if it is happening, then you can return a true directly, right? So that is what we have to do. And if you have tried out all the options and still you're not able to get to the nth stair, then obviously you can return a false, because you have tried every possible scenario that can be there, right? So let's try to see how can we like apply recursion in this. Let's try to build the recursive tree. Okay, so obviously these are the this is the array that you have been given, right? This is the list that you have been given. So 2 3 1 1 4. Let me just quickly like do the indexing. Okay, so obviously you are positioned at the first stair, right? You are positioned at the first stair, which is obviously zero based indexing. So you are at positioned at the 0th index, right? So your recursion should start from the 0th index, because you're positioned there, right? So let's see. Okay, if your recursion starts from here, what are the options at this particular index? What are the options at 0th index? 2, right? 2 number of steps are there. So how many possible options you have from that, moving from that particular index, from the first stair? 2 options. Either you could take one step, right, or either you could take two steps. If you decide to take one step, you will reach where? If you decide to move to one step, you'll reach to the first index, right? And if you decide to take two steps from the 0th index, you'll end up at the second index, right? So that is exactly what we have to do. Let's say, okay, so if you consider this, it will be, if you take one step, you will go to the first index. If you take two steps, you will go to the second index, right? Now coming at index as 1. If you are at index 1, how many choices do you have here? You have 3 choices, right? Either you can take one step, two step, or three step. Okay, let's try to do that. If you decide to take one step, two step, or three step, if you decide to take one step, then you will end up at second index. If you decide to take two step, you will end up at third index, and if you decide to take three steps, then you'll end up at the fourth index. Now the recursion flow will be in this direction, right? Like the first thing that will be happening is this particular subtree, right? So because this will be flowing in this particular direction, so like first continue with this particular path. Okay, so at recursion 2, this is index number 2, right? So here what are the number of steps that you can take? One step is there, right? One is there, so only one possible scenario is there, that you can take only one step from here. Okay, so if you take one step from the second index, it will be 2 plus 1, right? It will be 3, right? Now at if you are at the third index, from here how many steps you can take? You can take one more step, because only one step is there, right? If you take one step, you reach to the fourth index. Now when you reach the fourth index, is this not what you want? This is what we want, right? We need to see whether or not it will be able to, if any path reaches to the nth stair or not. And in the first time only, like in the first case scenario only, you have gotten the result. So what can you do? You can directly return a true from here. You can return a true from here, right? You return a true from here, true from here, true from here, true from here, and at the end true from here. You need not check rest of the tree. Okay, you can directly return. Why? You have already found one solution. Okay, so why you need to do the solution for rest of the tree? You do not have to find all the ways in which you can reach to the next day. You just have to find whether or not you can reach or not. Okay, let's consider the second example. We'll see if in the second example we'll be able to do it or not. So the second example is 32104. Okay, indexing being a 0 1 2 3 4. Again, recursion starts from 0th index. Why? Because the person is standing at the first stair. From 0th index, how many possible steps that person can take? At max he can take 3 steps. Okay, so either he could take 1 step, 2 step, or 3 step. If he takes 1 step, he'll go to first index. If he takes 2 steps, he'll go to second index. If he takes 3 steps, he'll go to third index. Okay, if the person goes to the first index, now from here how many choices? 2 choices, right? So either 1 step or 2 step. So the person can go to uh, 2 second index from the first index if he takes 1 step. If he takes 2 step, he'll land up at 3, the index number 3, right? From 2, how many steps can you take? You can take only 1 step again, right? If you can take 1 step only, then you'll reach at index number 3 if you are at index number 2, right? Now from 3, how many steps you can take? From 3, you can't take any steps, right? This is 0. You can't take any steps. Then obviously you can say, okay, I have completed the for loop, I have completed the iteration, and I'm not able to find the number of steps that I can take from there, so I can directly return a false from there, right? I can return a false from here. So I returned a false from here, so this also is returned as false. Now we'll check this one. We'll check this here. This is not complete, right? This is only done as of now. This still remains. This still remains, right? So from here, what can you do? Again, it's the recursive function of index number 3, right? So from here, how many steps? 0 steps. So what do you return? You return false from here. You return false from here. This is complete now. This is complete. This call is complete now. So now it will go back and it will return false. Okay, this returned false. This whole thing was complete. Now we will consider what if we take 2 steps. Okay, if we are taking first step from the first stair, we will never reach our destination, that is the nth stair. Okay, this did not yield us the answer. Let's check for if we take 2 steps, and from there if we can reach the nth stair. So if we take 2 steps, we'll go to the second index, right? We'll go to the second index. From there how many steps I can take? I can take only 1 step, right? If I take 1 step, I land up at index number 3. From 3, how many possible scenarios are there? 0 steps you can take. So return a false. Return a false. This is complete. This call is complete. So you say I have not been able to find find a possible solution as of now, so I am returning false. Okay, now this is also complete. Okay, and here also you were not able to find the possible solution, right? You were not able to reach the nth stair if you are taking two steps from the first stair. Okay, if you take two steps from the first stair, there also you are not able to reach the nth stair. Now you have one more option. If you try to take three steps from the 0th index, okay, this one remains, right? So here if you check, if you take three steps, you land up at the third index, right? From third index, how many steps you can take? Again the same thing, again and again and again and again the same thing is happening, again and again and again. You know that this is zero number of steps you can take from there. So what do? You return a false from here as well. This also couldn't yield you the answer. Now every possible steps that you could have taken from the 0th index, from the first stair, is completed. Even if you take one step, you won't get the answer, you won't get to the nth step. Even if you take two steps, you won't get to the nth step. Even if you take three steps, you won't get to the nth step. So at the end, if all of these are completed, what do you return? You return false. Directly return false from here. Okay, so this is what we have to do, and we'll try to write the code for it, and then we'll try to submit this on lead code. Okay, so the code will go like, so what do we need? We need an index, right? We need an index because we are playing on index only, right? We are playing on index, we are making the index move, right? So basically we are moving to certain indexes, so we need to take into consideration the index. Now at any point, if at any point my index is equal to, let's say this is a, okay, let's say this is a. If at any point, if my index is equal to length of a minus 1, considering the zero based indexing, for example, if my index has reached the last element, that is the nth stair, right? That is the nth stair. So what can you say? You can say, dude, return a true from here. Cool? Yeah, amazing. Now if it is not at, if the index is not length of a minus 1, if it is not at this particular index, if it is not at the last, then what do you have to do? Then you have to obviously check, right? How many steps it can take, how many steps it can take, how many steps it will take from the 0th index or the first index or the second index. It is based on whatever number of steps is mentioned at that particular index, right? So what you'll do, you'll run a loop, you'll run a for loop, such that for each number of step you'll consider the solution, right? You'll try to formulate the solution using each step, okay, present from that particular stair. So you can say, for I in range starting from 1 going up to a of index plus 1, right? If you have three steps that you can take, then your loop will go from 1 to 4, right? In Python, right? Because this is exclusive. So if this is done, what will you say? You'll say, now you are looping from 1 to number of steps that you can take, right? 1 to number of steps that you can take. What you'll say? You'll say, dude, if index plus that number of steps that I have taken, if the index plus 1, if the step that I have taken from that particular index is returning a true, if it is true, then directly return a true, right? Did we process the rest of this? Did we process these? We did not process these. Why? Because we already got one answer. So in that scenario, if you have already gotten an answer, you can say, if any of my index plus the number of steps that I've taken is leading to the index which is the last index, which is the nth stair, then return a true. And if you have not been able to get that, then what you'll return? You'll return a false. You'll return a false from here, and that is what you're exactly going to do. That is it. And this is, so basically guys, now if you try to submit this on lead code, it will give you a TLE. This will give you a time limit exceeded error, because the number of recursive calls that will be made in this particular scenario, if the input array is huge, if it's huge, then it will be a big problem, right? So what can you do? You'll have to think of some other approach, right? So guys, this video was just for the intuition building on recursion. We'll meet again in the next video where we'll solve this problem and solve it using greedy approach, so that you'll be able to, submit it on lead code successfully. So yeah, so we'll meet again in the next video. All the best guys.